Matt. He's connecting to audio. How are you doing today, Matt? How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Good. So excited to get a chance to chat with you and maybe get some helpful hints and tips and tricks to being in the kitchen during these quarantine times. How have you gotten creative in terms of what you're making?
Definitely way more home cooking and taking most of my inspiration of like my girlfriend just shoots me or tags me in Instagram posts or stuff like that. So I'm the one that goes to the grocery store and starts cooking that stuff. But it's been good. It's been a lot more home cooking, which is great. You know, usually we cook in an industrial environment, and now like just cooking for two people, it's definitely a big change. But it's been fun. You know, it's definitely we haven't taken advantage of a lot of takeout food, so we're focusing on cooking at home and then utilizing the leftovers as well. But it's been fun, definitely.
Okay, well, what's the specialty dishes? What's been the biggest hits?
Biggest hit? Definitely my pasta carbonara is always a hit because you can mix up the protein in as well. You can use chicken or you can use shrimp or, you know, keep it vegetarian, you know, so that's definitely the biggest hit. And I get asked probably once a week to cook it.
It's so good. Are there any special things in there that make it different from another?
Well, I think the American misconception is that there's cream in a carbonara, which there actually isn't. It's just eggs and Parmesan cheese. So that's the big difference with it. And I have a slight dairy intolerance, so I appreciate the dish because I don't have to use a lot of I'm good with cheeses, but I'm not as good with milks or cream. So I appreciate that. So it adds a little finesse to that dish as well if you cut the cream out.
You know what? I've always wanted to ask this. You cook so much for your job. I wonder how much when we were living normally, or what we thought was normal at the time. When you came home, did you feel like not cooking? And then, if that's the case, how long did it take you to get to a space where okay, I'm good to cook at home?
I guess it took me a good 5 days. I think a good week. You know, okay, you know, I can't have family meal in the kitchen now, or I gotta eat. So, and obviously my girlfriend, she's working from home right now too. So, there was no other choice to start cooking at home again. You know?
Yeah. What's the best thing to do with leftovers? Obviously that depends on the food, but do you just use them and eat the same meal again, or do you put them in other dishes?
A casserole is usually a safe bet, right?
It's true. Throw it all in there and bake it.
If you have leftover chicken, make a casserole out of it, make a pasta bake out of it. Stir fries work really good. Stuff like that. So you just have to get a little bit more creative than we usually are. But nowadays with the internet and all the social media that's around, there's always something you can pick up on.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to know you a little better. So tell us about your culinary background and how you got into all of it.
Okay. Obviously, as the name says and my accent gives it away, I'm originally from Germany, Bavaria. Same state as Grubauer, the Avs goalie. Okay, so local pride, and same home state as Dirk Nowitzki. We want to talk basketball. Yeah. Did my apprenticeship over there. So classically European trained, and then had to do my military service, which was still compulsory back then. So I did my due diligence, and then moved around quite a bit. Worked in the UK, worked in Australia, back to the UK, then back to Germany. And then I got transferred at some point with the company I worked for, got transferred to Miami, where I lived for 9 years. And then moved out here with Marriott about 1.5 years ago. And then at the Pepsi Center since January.
How does your mindset have to change as a chef, obviously being at home right now cooking for 2 people versus cooking a menu for an arena like the Pepsi Center?
Portion control, definitely. Scale it down by a lot. So instead of cooking 25 gallons of Alfredo sauce, you need 6 ounces, right? That's definitely big. And all my recipe cards, they're laid out to a minimum of 100 people, right? 100 servings. So there's quite a bit of math involved with that, but it's not too bad. You just have to calculate it down what you actually need, so you don't end up eating the same dish 5 times in a row, right?
We're taking a look at some photos here. Just talk about some of the events that you've been able to do work and how much fun they've been, or what have you taken away from your time here?
Since I started, I haven't worked a lot of like charity events yet, which is, I think it's more in the end of the year, like in November, December time when I came on board in January. But we definitely, in the arena food-wise, we definitely made an impact, very positive impact in Club Lexus and the Owners Club.
Mm-hmm.
So we revamped the complete menu in there, and the guest feedback has been tremendous. So there's a lot more interaction, a lot more fresh ingredients than there used to be. And I mean, the biggest compliment I get for a chef, if I walk the room and a guest stops me and compliments on the food, right? That's the best compliment without trying to fish for compliments. It's just, they just tell you straight up, hey, this is amazing, right? So that's the biggest compliment I can get. Other than that, definitely on a changing food wise, we try to, like, before we close down, try to change some items in local eats, as we call, or as Legends Hospitality calls the concessions, we call it local eats, to have a focus on more regional ingredients, regional dishes. So there's more to come to that after we start back up. We'll definitely see some nice new dishes or tweaked dishes there with, like, they scream a little bit more Colorado than they used to. So and that's what it seems to be. I mean, Colorado is such a local based state, and people are proud of what we produce out here, right? Comes to produce or proteins or whatnot. So we figured it might be a good idea to incorporate it, even, like, not only in the premium offerings, but also in the general concessions areas.
So cool the changes that are being made at the Pepsi Center. And I know you guys have a Legends newsletter that comes out, and you talk, you know, you're from Germany, you talk good beers, you talk good wine, you talk food and alcohol pairings. What has it been like for you to be a part of that?
Oh, it's great. I mean, and again, like, the feedback we get, I mean, just we send it out to our Legends employees, which are currently at home or doing home office. So we send it out on a weekly basis, and as well, it gets sent out to KSE employees as well. And I get random emails thanking me for it, because it gives people something to do right in their downtime. And nobody's going to judge you if you have to do it over again, right? But it's definitely a nice experience, and it's also it's approachable menus, I believe. Yeah. Or dishes to cook with everybody. There's there's not going to be some, okay, you need blue lobster from Normandy in France, right? So there's approachable ingredients in there, which everybody, if they apply a little bit of common sense, can, like, accomplish that at home. And when it comes to beer, actually, like, Colorado opened my mind a little bit when it comes to different beers. Oh. Coming from Germany, like, we have the purity law, and I was a bit of a purist. So for me, it was either wheat beer or lager. So I never would have thought I would have liked a fruity beer or, like, a very hoppy beer, but Colorado changed my mind a little bit on that.
That's so good. That's so good. Colorado changing lives. It's beautiful. You know what? If I get the newsletter and I try to cook something, but I might need a tip or two, can I reach out for a tip or two?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll shoot you my email. I'll give you my cell phone number. Definitely.
Cell phone number. He'll be calling you every day being like, what's happening? I don't know what's happening in the kitchen. Matt, Demps is really big, and I am too, actually. I was very fortunate. I was able to study in Italy for a couple months, and I took a food and wine pairing class. But in your opinion, what's the key to pairing a good wine with whatever meal that you're cooking?
I think you need to look at the basic flavors of the wine, right? So if you have an overly creamy dish, you need some acidity to counterbalance that creaminess, right? Looking at the shrimp and grits, obviously very creamy, a very rich recipe. So you need, like, a really, really crisp with a higher acid content, like white wine, with it to counterbalance that. It's all about balance. And I actually have a really good book here, which I can recommend to everybody. It's called the Flavor Bible.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it just pretty much explains to you what flavors go with what. So let's say you have a raspberry tart, for example. What works with raspberry? And it's actually pretty eye-opening and you wouldn't really think, oh, okay, but if you think about it, it makes sense, right? So it's all about counterbalancing it, right? That's really what it is.
You know, it's funny, you know, especially when you're talking about, you know, pairing the wines. I think a lot of people just boil it down very simply. Oh, white wine with chicken and red wine with pasta. Yeah. I mean, and I wonder, what do you think about that logic?
I think it's like, I guess it comes all from the French, right? They said, okay, red meat has red wine and white meat has white wine. I think, I think you can get a little bit out of the norm as long as you stick to the flavor profiles of the wine. You know, there's very acidic red wines as well, which you can pair with a little heavier chicken dish. Like, you know, if it's like a baked chicken with not a cream-based sauce, but like a red sauce, you can definitely pair a red wine with that. You know, same with there's certain seafood dishes, and which you can pair with a red wine or rosé, right? So I think and then whatever suits you really. You know, like nobody's gonna judge you. Like if you like that wine with that dish, so be it, right?
Yeah. I love that. What advice do you have for someone who might be cooking for the first time in quarantine? Just the basic knowledge that they might want to have in the kitchen.
Well, I think what's been overlooked once in a while is food safety at home, right? We always associate food safety or like how food safety with like restaurants and like hotels, etc. But food safety starts at home, right? Like so, make sure that your fridge is at the right temperature, right? I mean, because usually you should keep cold food below 41 degrees, right? That's usually the rule of thumb, below 41 degrees. And when it comes to like cooking, make sure that your proteins are cooked to the right core temperature, right? So, I mean, it's not as relevant with steak. If you want to eat your steak rare, right, or blue, then yeah, you're not going to reach the recommended core temperature. But especially when it comes to like seafood or poultry, you definitely like seafood, poultry be over 160 degrees core temperature, and seafood 145 to 155, then you're safe. So I think it's if you're a home chef and you cook a lot more with proteins like that, might be a good idea to invest in a little pocket thermometer, probably a digital one, because you don't have to calibrate it. And you stick it in, you just check that it's ready to go. And I guess like when it comes to eating leftovers, very important, reheat them to the right temperature as well, because it can make you ill if you bing something in the microwave, and yeah, it might be hot to you, but it's not really the inside. So again, make sure that stuff reaches 135 degrees interior or core temperature for at least 15 seconds, right? Again, little pocket thermometer, poke it in, check what it reads, and you're ready to go. And then the last thing, make sure your knives are sharp, right? Because you will cut yourself, right? And it's a lot more unpleasant if you cut yourself with a blunt knife than you cut yourself with a sharp knife, right? I speak from experience. So I actually had all my knives sharpened, and when it comes to that, like knives, I think what a lot of people they buy these crazy expensive knife blocks, right? There's a bunch of knives which you don't really need. So I have a couple. It's gonna take me 20 seconds to run you through it. Just what I think what everybody should have in their knife drawer at home, right? So obviously you need a peeler, right? Everybody needs a peeler because you'll save money if you buy unpeeled, uncut vegetables, right? And they last long in the fridge, right? Then a little turning knife or paring knife, you know, just to take little seeds out and whatnot. And then a good serrated knife for bread, sandwiches, whatnot. And then the only other thing, in my opinion, what you need at home is a good quality chef knife.
Yeah.
Right. And again, they can go up to, I saw a knife the other day, it went for $4,500.
Whoa.
You know, it's hand forged in the mountains of Himalaya or whatnot, right? But the only thing, but I think obviously go with a German brand, right?
Is that because that's
German
where
steel and German cars, right? The only thing you have to be careful with or look out for if you buy a knife, that it has a full tang, right? And a full tang is that the blade and the handle is forged out of one piece, right? So there's usually a sure giveaway that your knife is forged, not stamped, which is obviously higher quality, right? So if you see this going down one line, one piece, no weld lines in it, then it's usually a good knife, right? But I'm not going to tell you to go ahead and buy a $400 knife. You usually get a decent knife to cook with at home for like $50, $60.
Oh,
right?
beautiful.
And I just have mine sharpened actually. Because sharpening at home, yes, you can hone them over steel or whatnot, but I like to ship mine in once in a while. And I just watched Shark Tank 2 weeks ago, and there were these guys on it. It's called knife8.com, and you tell them how many knives you need sharpened, and they send you a package. You send them in, and 5 days later, you get them back polished and sharpened. So.
Wow. I need to go check my knives right now,
Yeah.
honestly. Do I have the right ones? I don't know. Chef, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. When we are back to normal, I would love, and I'm sure Dempsey would, to do a little taste test feature with you.
Yeah. Anytime. You come by Club Lexus on the club, wherever you like to, and we walk you through. Okay?
I love that. We should have you on for a little cooking show segment too. So we'll reconnect.
Let me know when. I got plenty of time.
Cook something. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.